All right. Well, just to recap, the New Mexico game was a great win. Didn't go exactly like we planned, but good teams find a way to win those type of games. And, it's really, like we said after the game, there's a couple not real complicated corrections that needed to be made. That a team like New Mexico, you look at the speed on their football team, and we knew this going into it, that they had a couple backs that could take it, literally, and they did that. And, there's probably more explosive runs in that game that I've seen in a long time. And, it comes down to one or two things maybe. But, in the second half, that's what, we talked about as coaches, and as a team. Good teams make second-half adjustments. The first half, nobody's won a game in the first half. How do we come out in the second half, try to find a way just to chip away, keep it close enough, and if we can get into that fourth quarter, we feel like our conditioning, we feel like, our execution and the way the offense was playing, that we could get ourselves close enough to have a chance to win the game. And that's exactly what happened. So, from that standpoint, after the game, to have that all kind of go our way, it's obviously encouraging. I know one side of the ball is not real excited about how the game went, but excited that we won. And, usually when that happens, that's a pretty good refocusing throughout the week. And I thought last night's practice, everybody was, for the most part, very excited to get back out there and get back to work. Let's just say that, and focused. But proud of our team, proud of the coaches, for those guys to be able to get that done. Players of the game, I will say this too. One of the areas we did stress, we talked about it last week, were penalties. I think this is the first game we actually were the least penalized team. We had 3 in the game. So the penalties and what we've been doing for penalties in practice hopefully is going to continue to pay off. It's not really a stat that wins and loses games, but it does affect you. Players of the game: on defense was Darian Thompson. On offense was Grant Hedrick. Special teams, Kamalei Correa, and I think that was the turning point in the game, in my opinion. When he blocked the punt, we're out there and safe, and they're trying to roll out there and maybe get a little bit cute on taking their time, and Kamalei just comes off the edge, and he's probably taller than the guy thought, put his arms up there, blocked it. We had a chance. That's a situation there where we really can't, they can't advance it. We could have scooped it, tried to take it in right there, and that's something to learn from. But at the same time, we got the ball back. We needed a touchdown at that time. We got a field goal out of it. So Dan, we knew that we could count on Dan in this game. He came through for us. But regardless, it turned into points. O-lineman, Marcus Henry. D lineman was Bo Martin. And Bo was the other one now on the field goal. They tried to, this 40 or some yards, got his hands up there and blocked the field goal, which is another turning point in the game. So, we gave up a long run on special teams for a touchdown, which, our coverage unit has been very good. That was very disappointing to see that happen, and not really one where the guy had to do much. He just made one move and was gone. It wasn't real complicated for them. And so to come back on special teams, for Dan to have the performance he did, for us to block a punt, to block a field goal, all right, we needed to do something to make up for it, and we did it. Leading into this game now, San Diego State, they're 5-4, 3-2 in conference. They're 2-0 versus the Broncos in the last couple of years. They're number 3 in our conference in rushing. Pro-style, downhill, team that can run the football. I think their quarterback is a good thrower. And if they're running the ball effectively, it's going to get one-on-one matchups on the outside. The running back, Donnell, leading rusher in our conference. So obviously we just came off a team that ran the ball for 500 and some yards or so. That's obviously a point of emphasis. We're going to play another team that is able to run the football very effectively. QB, faced him last year. This guy, feel like he can throw it. Good player. And, we got to try to find ways to disrupt the pass game and get him out of the pocket and disrupt his timing. Then they got a fullback, Dakota Gordon. good player, guy that's he's a fullback. We'd like to have fullbacks. We kind of utilize our tight ends. We've had those type of guys in the past, and this guy can play that position very well. Defensively, number 1 statistically in our conference. They're number 18th in total defense, number 2 in scoring defense, and this is Rocky Long. I mean, this is his odd stack, variation of that type of defense that he's become known for, and he does a lot of different things. He's very good at it. They're well coached in what they do. They bring a lot of different type of pressures with a lot of different people, with a lot of different looks from the D-line and the backers and where they're hitting gaps. Bottom line is very hard to get a beat on exactly what they're doing, and each and every week there's something a little bit different in there. D-tackle Alex Barrett, he's been a good player for him statistically. Josh Garrett is their team leader. He is their linebacker, leads the team in tackles. And then Calvin Munson, their linebacker, number 9 in the Mountain West Conference, and he's got some INTs in there as well, some picks. So their defense, we know that the last couple of years we need to have better production on offense. It's going to be a huge challenge for us to get that done this week. And then special teams, there's some things statistically I could read off here. Bottom line is we need to fix what we're doing on special teams, and like I said, we did some good things, but we can't allow a kickoff return, which last year I think there was a punt return that went for a touchdown, and the year before that it was a kickoff return that went for a touchdown. So San Diego State has scored twice on special teams in the last couple games, and we need to focus on what we're doing special teams-wise, because that's obviously an area of concern that showed up in the game against New Mexico. So with that, open up for questions.
Coach, you mentioned obviously that San Diego State is 1-2 in a row against this program. I know that you weren't necessarily a part of those, but how personal do the guys take the fact that hasn't happened in quite some time?
Well, I think, they should. You get beat by a team twice. I don't think there's any question about it. And I don't know the first one. I'm sure that people were like, that's probably a fluke. And the second time, it's not. I mean, San Diego State's a good football team. They're physical. They have a mentality to them. They've obviously got a very good defense. They run the ball effectively. I mean, the two combinations and special teams, they make plays on special teams, and they have against Boise State the last 2 years. So, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, they've been the better team in those games, and we got them here at home, and we've got a lot of things that we have to get corrected, in these next 3 days of practice. But just from an overall feeling, guys are excited to play. I mean, want to go out there and play in this game. I'm sure San Diego State does as well, coming here and playing us. So it'll be good. I think the energy and trying to get the attitude and mentality for this game on both sides is not going to be real hard to do that.
The long runs have been a trend for 4 or 5 games now. When you guys see that, what is it going to take? What do you have to do to get that fixed and short up? Because that's pretty unusual. Nationwide, have that many of them.
No doubt. I mean, the one thing is, in all those runs, I mean, they've gotten to the third level in a hurry. So we haven't, from a D-line standpoint or a linebacker standpoint, haven't done really an effective job on those plays where they've hit. And you get to your safeties. I mean, they're already lined up 10 yards deep. They have to come downhill, and you're talking about a lot of space with a one-on-one tackle. Now, in this last game, we weren't even in the right position on a couple of them, bottom line. And we repositioned ourselves, made a couple corrections, basically just went back to doing what, we had practiced. I think we got a little bit ahead of ourselves, on a couple of those runs. But ultimately, I mean, it all starts up front. The D-line has got to slow it down. It can't be just a downhill hit at full speed. There's a gap, like what happened in New Mexico. And then the linebackers got to get off blocks, and the secondary's got to be there and play off, where the linebackers and the D-line are spilling that run to. So to me, it's a combination. It's a combination of us, doing a better job scheme-wise. It's a combination of, slowing them down in the first and second level before they get to the third level. Because, I mean, again, when that happened in the New Mexico game, it was pretty easy to see that guy was going to go all the way, and they did.
Grant's numbers I mean, they're borderline ridiculous how well he's doing. With all the yards you got, no turnovers. All of this seemed to coincide with opening up your offense a little bit. Actually, with Matt Miller's injury, kind of opening up the offense. How much have we seen? How much to go?
Well, you've seen everything we got to this point, and I really mean that. I don't think we've, every game for us, we're not holding anything back. We'll come up with some new ways to attack, our next opponent. But I think you go back to your original question, Grant is playing well. And to me, it's, statistically, yes, there are some very good numbers in there. And that's the product of, when everybody on offense is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the quarterback's doing his job, it's going to look that way. But the biggest thing, I think, in that game was 0 turnovers. I think Grant he's taking care of the football. He's put himself in a position to do that. I think he's practiced that way. I think Coach Sanford has done a great job with him and the game plan of understanding what looks good, what doesn't look good, and when. And then I think the one thing that, Grant's really done himself is just his production running the ball. We didn't ask Grant to go rush for 100 yards in that game, and he did it scrambling, and he found some ways to get down the field running the ball. And that's where a guy like that has that type of talent, and being able to run. You see quarterbacks like that, and the ability to throw it effectively becomes a weapon. And that's what he's doing right now. He's become a weapon, and needs to continue to play like that. But I think he's just playing within the system, kind of doing the things we ask our quarterbacks to do, and you see the production from that standpoint.
Grant admitted that he was always looking for Matt first, and that, while it's obviously foolish to say that it's better that he's not playing, but it's kind of forced him to look other ways and build confidence quicker in other guys. What have you seen from him in that development since Matt's gone out, and the fact that he's had to trust other guys?
Well, and I think other guys have stepped up. It's not just, Grant having to do that. It's those other guys making plays for him as well. And, we talked about this when Matt got injured. It wasn't going to be Thomas. It's going to have to be everybody else that's played that needed to step up. I think Shane scored. Has he scored in the last 3 games? Last 5 games. Okay, so he scored. He's had a touchdown. I should know that, right? He scored. Obviously, Thomas has played well. Jay continues to be productive. Grant's playing well. The tight ends, Jake Rowe and our tight ends have been involved in the pass game. And the O-line, you think about it, we haven't talked about them very much, but Grant's had scramble lanes that come from the O-line maintaining their blocks. And, he's been able to stay upright, for the most part. And I think it's just a combination of everybody one doing their job, not having Matt. I don't know if it was a matter. He was just a fact that he was just trying to get the ball to Matt as much as I think we've just expanded. And guys, we're doing a little bit more, and I think they're getting more comfortable with what we're doing and how we're attacking. And, coaches as well. It takes a little bit of time to kind of be in the fire when you're running this offense to really understand, how we can attack and how we want to attack.
Coach, you mentioned Humphrey, and just what enables them to be so successful with him at the running back spot? And, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but it just seems like he's able to tote the rock quite a bit for him.
Well, he's tough. That's one thing, and that's a mindset of this football team too. I think San Diego State's a tough football team. I think it comes from their coach. I think he provides that mentality for the team. That's the type of style of offense he wants to run, that pro style, downhill, run the ball. Because when you can do that and that you can play defense, he's a defensive guy, and you can play defense, and you have a good defense, you can run the ball. I think it's sound, when it comes to running a program. So, but the O-line, those guys up front have done a good job. Tight ends, fullbacks, wide receivers, they block down the field. They're not a team that you watch and you're just going, they're a lazy football team. They play hard, and that's the reason why they've had success, in the past here. And, other than that, I don't know if any one thing in particular other than just a team that plays well, and he's one of their guys that plays well for him.
After the game, Jay said that Grant's the leader of the offense. And, how much has his production led to the success of the offense recently, and how important is it that he's playing the way he is at this point in time in the year against the opposition that you're facing?
You talking about Grant?
Yes, Grant.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's good. I mean, anybody look across the country from the NFL through college, whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, if your quarterback's playing well, you're probably playing pretty good. And, you know, our quarterback's playing well right now. You know, he's doing the things that he's asked to do. He's playing within the system. He understands it. He's getting us in the right plays. He's got guys around him that believe in their abilities, but also believe their quarterback. You know, when he scrambles around, he's going to find him or he's going to run, whatever. He's going to be productive. And that's, to me, I think that's just the confidence that you see in teams at this point of the year. I mean, November's a month where you've got confidence from the way you've played leading into that month, or you're still trying to figure it out. You know, if you're trying to figure it out, you're probably in bad shape, you know, at that time. And, you know, these guys, they've been preparing well. You know, Grant's a guy that he's really, I think, from last year when he started, and I remember talking to him, you don't really understand what it takes to be the starting quarterback until you're the starting quarterback. And it takes a little bit of time to figure that out, and then the system's changed on him. You know, and it takes a little bit more time to figure that out, and personnel changed, and so on and so forth. And Coach Sanford and the offensive staff have evolved, you know, into what we are right now. And, you know, it's just a combination of all that. But if he continues to play well, he's got enough guys around him. The one thing that Grant knows he doesn't have to do is win it by himself. You know, Thomas Spurbeck's going up and making, you know, underthrow catch. You know, Jay's running the football well. Tight ends are blocking. You know, guys are making plays. Chaz goes up and makes a big play. You know, on a pretty good ball, but really a great catch in that situation there. So guys around him are helping him out tremendously.
What makes the San Diego State defense a 3-3-5? Everybody talks about a rocky long defense. What does that mean to you? What do you see that makes them unique?
Well, I think it's because it's his. I mean, other people run the same stuff. You know, there's teams that do what they do, and there's teams that try to copy what other teams do, and they can't do it. And I think this is just what Coach Long, you know, he's done it for a while. He understands it. I think the guys have confidence, you know, from the way they've been coached. But they also, you know, they provide different looks each game. You know, they give you some different variations on where they're going to bring their pressures from, who's dropping out, who's coming. And then I think this too, I mean, you know, we're talking about the front seven primarily, but those safeties and corners now, they got to play well. You know, there's times where the corners are on an island, they're going to be challenged, they know that, and there's times where the safeties have to cover, you know, one-on-one, really good receivers. And then there's times where the safeties have to make the tackles. You know, so that back half too, and I know that, you know, from watching this defense, that back half is well coached, and they understand what's going on in front of them too. So probably the biggest thing is they complement each other, you know, and each week when you see them and they get into that game, you know, they understand the opponent, probably the tendencies as well, and then they go out there and execute at a pretty high level.
You mentioned Shane a minute ago. It seemed like the last 5-6 games he started to turn into more of, you know, everybody talked about that traditional wide receiver role. It seems like that's really shown up the last 5-6 weeks. And I mean, just getting him a little bit more down the field and getting him involved in a few more different ways.
Yeah, I think that, you know, he's been a screen guy primarily in the past, you know, flipping little bubbles out there. And then, you know, in the last game he caught a flag route down the field for a big play, had another screen for a touchdown that he ran in. But he's, you know, I think the one thing, I don't know if it's just Shane in particular, I mean, we're trying to be a little more vertical. You know, I mean, I think that's been the emphasis since we got here is I think we have enough dink and dunks. We have enough things that we can go sideways throwing the ball. Let's try to push the ball down the field. It takes just as much time to work on a shot play as it does a hitch. You know, I mean, that's the reality of it. So, and he's just one of those guys. He's a playmaker. And so regardless of what his role is, if we can get him down the field and get the ball in his hands, he's a guy that can do that. And then at the same time, he's still got that role of once it is in his hands, he's going to make a lot of guys miss in space. And he's shown that the last couple games.
You've got a really young team. There's 15 freshmen and sophomores on the offensive, 2 deep, and 11 or so on the defensive. Only 1 senior on the line. Grade them out. How do you think these guys are coming along?
Well, it's not over yet. Yeah, I mean, that's the
Midterm.
Yeah. Hard to answer. I'm not going to answer that one right now. I mean, we know what we need to do to finish it out.
Are you pleased with how they're doing?
I am. I'm pleased with their prep. You know, there still things that, I mean, you can go back to the last game. There's plenty we need to work on. We haven't perfected anything, but what I'm pleased with, we spend more time practicing and meeting than we do playing the game. And to me, that's extremely important to our success. And these guys, they work at it. So as far as how they meet, how they prep, how they practice, been very happy with what they're doing. The test is every Saturday. We win. So that's the ultimate goal. But every player's got a different grade when they come out of there, and some better than others. So this week, what you do from that is you go back, you refocus on, okay, what are the 3 things you have to get better at this week? And it might be the same 3 things every week, but that to me is the whole key to our success. If we continue to win, it'll be because those guys take those 3 things, actually work on them throughout the week, and then go back into a game with a better understanding of what they need to do.
Chaz Anderson seems to be making one fabulous catch every game, and Thomas Spurbeck about one every quarter. Talk about the ability to make plays and the mentality of that for guys like that, and what you see in practice that brings that out.
Yeah. Well, Thomas, he's done that. I think the one thing, Thomas has great body control. If you're just talking about him as an athlete, you saw it on the underthrown fade ball. He kind of comes back and makes that acrobatic catch. You saw it there in the Air Force game, the one he kind of turned and, he caught the ball. But he does it in practice. That's kind of his style. I don't know if that's any one particular thing that we've done. I think that was from his parents. He got that. And, so he's got that style, the way he plays. Chaz has developed, and I think he's developed through practice. He's coming from the other side of the ball to play wide receiver. He obviously did it in high school. The more reps he gets, the plays like that, New Mexico, he's going to have confidence this week going into practice. All right, he went up and made a play. He went up, a couple games ago and made a play. And that's what he does. He's a fast guy that can get on people's toes, and because of his speed, he's probably going to be a guy that has to go up and make a play. And so, to me, that comes with, the way he practices, and more reps he gets, the better Chaz has gotten. And I think the thing about Thomas is the more opportunities he gets, he's been productive. He's shown that. So it's our job to find ways to get the ball in his hands, to be productive for us. And it's also our job to find ways for Chaz to keep developing through practice. So maybe he can have, not just 1 per game, but, we'd like to have him to have 1 per quarter too. Would be the ultimate goal.
I think last 4 games you've gotten points every time you've gotten in the red zone. I guess how important has that been? And then I think each of the last 2 games there were twice where you had to settle for field goals. What do you see in there? It seemed like that one drive you guys tried to run 3 straight times.
Yeah. The one on the blocked punt, we had a couple plays in there that were game plan specific. I don't know if it was our best stuff. And I would say this, it's only a bad idea if it doesn't work. So if it had worked, it would have been our best stuff in the game. But, we just didn't execute it that well, and they played it well. It wasn't something that, we came back to after that. I'll just say that. But we have scored in the red zone. In a game like that in particular, you really want those to be touchdowns. That might have swung the game even sooner had that happened, and not settling for field goals. But, to Dan's credit, we tell him every week, he's going to be a critical factor. And, we go out there, we blunder in the red zone, we don't get a touchdown, but we get points out of it. That's the whole goal. All right, we didn't walk away with nothing. And that kept us in the game, and that was a game changer for us because of those 2 kicks. And but we go back and we evaluate, okay, what happened here? Was it execution, or was that just not our best stuff? And it can be a combination of both.
I don't know if you heard or really care about it, but Coach Hawk is going to be on the call this week. What do you think about that? And what has he meant to you in your coaching career? He obviously gave you a couple opportunities.
Yeah. Well, one, I think it's great. That's what he's doing now. He doesn't have to travel, not very far, to get over here. And, the one thing about Coach Hawk, he's always been good to me. He gave me an opportunity to be a GA here, volunteered to be a GA and then to coach tight ends. And so, as far as I'm concerned, he's the, guy that believed that I could help, on his staff and really take over a position that he coached. So that wasn't easy. But he taught me a lot. He was I remember this specifically when I was done playing, and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in life, and you decide that football might be something you want to do, and all the other coaches on the staff at that time are like, "That's awesome, great," basically pat you on the back and wish you good luck. And he spent 2 hours with me twice, 1 hour at a time, but 2 hours total, just kind of explain, okay, here's how coaching is going to go for you, and pretty much how he laid it out was exactly. At least the first 4 or 5 years of kind of how it went. So, I always appreciated that, and Kess and I, we're always grateful to him and for the opportunity. So, have him back here, he's been around. I still talk to him, and it's good to kind of get his take on where we are or what he sees and all that. I mean, he's a good coach, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun to have him. I don't know what how it's all going to go from the booth, but I'm sure it'll be good, and it'll be good for him too.
Couple things. One, update on DSG, and two, you guys clinched your 17th straight winning season the other day, and it kind of got lost with all the 10 and 12 win seasons there for a while. But what does that mean to you to put something together over that much time?
Yeah, I really didn't know that. I know we'd won, and Boise State's won for a long time. I think I did hear one. There's only been 4 or 5 losing seasons, maybe something like that. I don't know. You might. 5 losing seasons, you probably you have that. You might have said that where I got it from. So Boise State's always been a successful program. I think what it says, this whole conference and everything that's going on with the fives and all those things like that, we really consider ourselves a power program. And the first thing in being a power program is winning and showing that you can win. So I think that says a lot about, if you're a Boise State Bronco,